In the heart of the vast rolling prairie of Kansas between Pawnee Fork and the Santa Fe Trail sits the best preserved, complete, and authentic 1860s Army military post that tells the story of the Indian Wars era and gives the feeling that you have stepped back in time. Coming up, exploring Kansas history on the road with Barrett Young. Today we visit Fort Larned National Historic Site near Larned, Kansas. Between 1822 and 1880, the Santa Fe Trail provided one of the most important overland transportation routes in America, between Independence, Missouri and Santa Fe, New Mexico. A great influx of people along the Santa Fe Trail disrupted the way of life of the American Indians of this region and prompted them to retaliate. Fort Larned was established in 1859 to protect the travelers, trail commerce, and the mail because of rising tensions between American Indians and those using the trail. Fort Larned National Historic Site preserves the buildings, stories, and historical themes associated with Fort Larned. Located between the Santa Fe Trail and the Pawnee Fork of the Arkansas River, Fort Larned National Historic Site consists of 718 acres and is part of the National Park Service. George Elmore, Chief Ranger, tells us why Fort Larned is unique within the National Park system.
Each park site is unique in its own right. You're going to say, well, yes, there are a lot of military sites in the system, but there are very few Indian War sites. Fort Larned is probably the best preserved Indian War site. I personally think so anyway. Fort Laramie, Wyoming, you have more buildings, but you don't have the entire parade ground. Here, Fort Larned is more compact, and in that compactness, it tells the more complete story. We have the barracks, the hospital, the post school, the arsenal, you name it, it is still here today.
Between 1866 and 1868, the government replaced the original sod and adobe buildings of Fort Larned with more durable stone and timber buildings. Arranged around a 400-foot square parade ground, visitors today can see 9 stone buildings: barracks, a post hospital, 2 company officers' quarters, commanding officers' quarters, quartermaster storehouse, the old commissary, the new commissary, and a shops building containing the bakery, leather and carpentry shop, and blacksmith. Visitors may walk around and explore 7 of the 9 buildings to get a glimpse of what it was like to live on a western fort during the 19th century. Ranger Elmore tells why you need to visit in person.
You should come out to Fort Larned, and I think you'll be really surprised and shocked at the original fabric. You can go all over the United States and see reconstructions. You can see rebuilt, but Fort Larned, for the most part, in fact, the building we're standing in, it's an original building built in 1867. The walls are still intact. Now, some of the buildings you can go in, you'll be walking on original floors. The preservation here is just phenomenal. We have original panes of glass in some of the windows and officers' quarters that survived. Most forts you go in, and you just don't get that feeling of what it was really like. You can't really get the feeling of walking in the past that you get here at the fort. You really do get the feeling of going back in time.
Today, as you visit Fort Larned National Historic Site, you can still experience many of the same sights and sounds that greeted travelers on the Santa Fe Trail. Through restoration of surviving buildings and reconstruction, the post has assumed its 1868 appearance. The park's visitor center contains museum exhibits and an audio-visual program. The furnished buildings help communicate the history of this military post. Through the year, park rangers and volunteers present a variety of living history programs, talks, guided tours, school programs, and special events. The fort comes alive with living history activities and demonstrations provided by staff and volunteers. It takes only a little imagination to capture a feeling of what life was like here at Fort Larned on the rugged frontier of the plains. This is Barrett Young.